Heisei Godzilla vs. Keizer Ghidorah is not, will never be, and never was close. Here's why. To begin, let's address the relevance of this topic. Keizer Ghidorah is usually claimed to be either the strongest Ghidorah or the strongest monster that Toho's ever made. This is wrong for many reasons. One, Toho actually never said Kaiser's the strongest monster ever. In the past and up to current day, they continue to say that that title belongs to Destroya. Even in 2022 and 2024 sources, saying Destroya has unprecedented power up to this point in the Godzilla series. Meaning, nobody has surpassed Destroya as far as Toho is concerned. So that eliminates that first argument right away. The second one has a bit more meat to it. So let's address the obvious things first. One, Final Wars is in its own timeline, completely separate to the rest of the Godzilla franchise. I've already talked about this multiple times, but it's not even connected to the original film despite Godzilla appearing in 54. So you can't compare Final Wars Kaiju to any previous versions. Some stupid comments that I've gotten suggested that the director said, oh well, other than Monster X, there's no new monsters, they all share the same abilities and powers. But we know that's not true, because King Caesar could have reflected Godzilla's atomic breath. Rodan has a beam attack, Ankyras has a beam attack. There's a lot of things to just talk about. Also, Final Wars Kaiju tend to be weak, like very weak, compared to their past selves. Kamacuras died to a tower. Not a tower exploding or anything either, just the tower itself killed Kamacuras. Zilla died to an exploding building. And you can't compare them to Godzilla because he can control his power output. He only used his full power against the Meteor and Monster X. So nobody else compares to him at all, aside from Monster X and Keizer Ghidorah. Keizer Ghidorah is stated to be the strongest enemy in that universe, which is impressive and all. I mean, Final Wars Godzilla is considered a planet buster, at least, via many statements. And humanity thought that they could blow up a earth-shattering Gorath, and called Godzilla unstoppable in comparison. But that's kinda it. There's no black hole, supernova, gamma ray burst, galaxy destroying shit for the Final Wars universe. The closest we got is a statement for, ironically, Kaiser himself, saying he has cosmic classes of firepower. But that's vague as hell and could mean anything. What does this mean? He can destroy other planets, stars, galaxies, a universe? What does it mean? Or maybe it's just because he manipulates a cosmic energy, that being anti-gravity. It's a vague statement, but the thing that's consistently stated for Kaiser is that he's the strongest Ghidorah. This is said actually a lot. Many guides consistently say that Keizer Ghidorah is the pinnacle of the entire Ghidorah species, even though he's not exactly a normal Ghidorah. This is also consistent with other media appearances, such as in the IDW comics, the Pachinko timeline, and ironically even the weird EVA crossovers where Kaiser keeps appearing after Ghidorah. So we're going to do this one of two ways. One, we're going to use Kaiser's own stats from his verse, because he should not scale to any other version of the series. And two, we're going to be generous and give Kaiser the scaling to other Ghidorahs, considering that that is consistently stated in a lot of Toho media, from games to guides to books to even their website. Next is how strong Heisei Godzilla is compared to his Ghidorah. We're going to run through the various versions of Heisei to put this into context. 1991 Godzilla fought King Ghidorah, and at first the two seemed evenly matched, and Ghidorah even got an upper hand thanks to being controlled by humans. However, it becomes pretty clear that Godzilla actually had trump cards in his back pocket that rendered Ghidorah very vulnerable. The nuclear pulse damn near one-shot him already, literally putting Ghidorah right on the ground immediately, and yet despite being durable enough to survive the nuclear pulse, the initial spiral ray decapitated Ghidorah. Yep, so that's one of the strongest versions of Ghidorah already decapitated by Godzilla. But then you might say, well, what about Mecha King Ghidorah? Well, Godzilla seemingly grew even stronger, which is consistently noted that Heisei continues to increase in power basically every day. Makes sense given his nuclear reactor organs and all. Despite Mecha King Ghidorah having beam-resistant armor and being stronger than the original, Godzilla no longer needed the spiral ray or nuclear pulse. His normal beams were good enough to blast through Mecha King Ghidorah's wings and damage its cockpit severely. In fact, Mecha Ghidorah was also pretty much dead after that, despite surviving for 2 centuries after the first decapitation. So yeah, Heisei got really strong really quick. If you watch the Rebirth of Mothra video, go watch the Rebirth of Mothra video, you'll know that the only Ghidorah arguably more powerful is the one from that trilogy, commonly called Grand King Ghidorah. If you accept a certain line of scaling, then Des Ghidorah is the most powerful opponent Mothra has ever faced, which would include the Godzilla from the next year. This is sort of questionable considering that Godzilla doesn't exist in that timeline, and Des Ghidorah basically prevented the Godzilla series from happening in that version. But if you are nice and give that to him, then Des Ghidorah is weaker than young King Ghidorah from the Cretaceous period. We know that because young Ghidorah can fight on par with Mothra Leo's rainbow form, whereas base Leo beat Des Ghidorah black and blue. The adult King Ghidorah is several orders of magnitude more powerful, and comes with a number of impressive abilities. That's cool and all. Mothra Leo blasted his ass with his armored form, and completely eviscerated him with his strongest technique. Despite this, according to Toho as well, Mothra Leo cannot damage Mechagodzilla 2's armor from the outside. Granted, it does show Super Mechagodzilla in the picture, but it doesn't say the Garuda is necessary for this battle, for the robot, and suggests that Mothra's main means of victory would be going inside and attacking the robot's circuits and joints from the inside. It also never notes that Mothra's stronger transformations would be of any real assistance. So we can confidently say that Super Mechagodzilla is more powerful than Armor Mothra Leo, which is also stated that the robot's offense would be too much for Leo to take. Leo, who again completely obliterated the strongest Ghidorah in the classic era. It also begs the question how much stronger Kaiser would be than Grand Ghidorah, as he is stated the strongest, but by how much? 20%? 10 times? A million times? We don't know. The best we got is one statement saying his fighting power far surpasses King Ghidorah, but that doesn't really clarify anything. So at best, I'd say he could easily defeat a King Ghidorah, putting him at best on par with Mothra Leo, who is weaker than Super Mechagodzilla, let alone Space Godzilla and Destroya. This means that Keizer Ghidorah can, at best, fight the Godzilla from 1993, which would also kind of be meta-consistent, considering that the Final War Spiral Ray and the Mechagodzilla Spiral Ray are actually compared in one guidebook. So according to this one statement, the red spiral rays are actually sort of comparable. So if that's the case, then red spiral ray Heisei Godzilla would just one-shot Keizer Ghidorah. But could Kaiser do anything about that? Could his hacks or speed do anything against Heisei with his far superior strength? I'm gonna say no. Pretty simple reasons. If he couldn't beat Amped Final Wars, who is stated Heisei level according to that guidebook, then how would he beat Heisei, who is as strong as Amped Final, plus regen, plus better abilities, plus adaptation, plus has already fought Ghidorahs before, including their gravity abilities? Well, what about speed? Final Wars kaiju are noted to be pretty quick after all, and they're, super duper action monsters, or whatever the director said. Well, it's noted Final Wars Godzilla moves 3 to 4 times faster than the previous generations, but nothing is said like that for Kaiser. That's kind of a problem, considering if Kaiser just stands there and tries to beam clash Heisei Godzilla, he's probably going to explode. Heisei can also tag faster enemies like Mechagodzilla, the Mothras, Ghidorah, etc. with his atomic breath, and we know Kaiser is not very durable compared to his own level of strength. He decapitated himself when Final Wars Godzilla pointed a head at a neck. Heisei Godzilla is a consistent beam spammer, and while not inept in close quarters, he prefers to use ranged attacks, which Kaiser does as well. So in a beam off, I see Heisei Godzilla winning pretty handily. Now, of course, if we were to use the feats from Final Wars itself, because, well, it's not connected to anything, and what I've said before is being hyper generous at best, then you could scale Kaiser above the hypothetical Gorath explosion, since humans thought that they could do that but can't kill Godzilla. Kaiser one-shot Godzilla after their beam clash, and this was when he was trying to torture him, so arguably he's even stronger. He even made Amped Final Wars flinch a bit. Amped Final Wars, who then proceeded to annihilate him, and that was with one gravity beam, so I imagine all three could do a little bit more damage. But yeah, we're comparing a planetary and then some arguably star-level creature at best to the guy whose cells could take a large black hole and eat supernovas for lunch, and via many more consistent statements you can put that back in the Biolante part of the Heisei Godzilla era, which even 80 meter Heisei could significantly damage. If you want to say 100 meter Heisei, again, he really can't get past Red Spiral Godzilla at all. So yeah, Heisei Godzilla stomps really bad both ways, but at least with the higher interpretation he can kind of get decently through the Heisei era. So anyway, thank you all for watching, and this is totally not a rushed video because Indom vs. Giga exploded or anything.
And now for something completely different.